All right, so Case, let's do this. We're gonna wrap with the future of Oregon State baseball, and I will say this: like, I think what Mitch Canham, your former player, and who's been the skipper for a few years now, I think him and his staff are doing an awesome job, given everything. Like they've received some really bad cards. The demolition of the Pac-12 in baseball, and Oregon State being left without a conference for a while. And I think about it, like, not only is Oregon State not losing players in the transfer portal, they're winning the portal even without a conference. That Avia Arquette kid who was everybody wanted this summer, and he's going to be a Beav. And then I'm going to Elijah Hainline last year, like that was a huge get. And then the Caraway kid from SoCal, freshman Trent Caraway last year. And then I was at an All-American high school game this summer, and there's a couple recruits for the Beavs. And then also the kid from Idaho, I think his last name's Whitney, if I'm not mistaken.
Dak, yeah.
Yeah. Dak Whitney is they got him through the draft. So like all these things that you would think like, oh, they're without a conference, they're going to get pummeled. It's not happening. Like all of these signs are like, hey, this is a really healthy program. Hey, a couple years ago, 2022, Oregon State, I think, was the number 3 overall national seed. Stanford was 2, Oregon State was 3, or vice versa. So like the program's still showing very healthy signs, even though they have not popped that next Omaha trip since 2018. But like for me, Case, like when it came out that Oregon State was go independent in baseball, at first I was really concerned. And then I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting. Let's see what this looks like when it plays out, and we'll see it when the schedule gets announced this year. Now the Pac-12 will rebuild itself a little bit, but like I guess I'll ask my question with this. I remember Cal State Fullerton, when you were building Oregon State, was a program where you were worried about the Big West maybe being a 1 or 2 or 3 bid league. But Cal State Fullerton would go play road games. They'd play anybody, and their RPI was never a problem because their schedule was so ferocious. So I do think that would be one important thing for Oregon State baseball is they're going to have to play an outrageous, risky schedule to keep the program where they want to be from a relevant standpoint. That's just one opinion. And obviously investment. I think Oregon State views baseball as a major sport at their school, so investing in that way. But what do you think? Like, are those two things that you agree would be important, or is there other stuff that's really important for the future of Oregon State baseball?
Well, I think you hit on a lot of things there that are very accurate. One is the staff's doing a phenomenal job. Everybody on that staff played there, from the director of baseball operations to the player development guy to all the coaches. So, they're ingrained in that culture. They're enhancing that culture, doing a fabulous job recruiting. And, I think it is a concern that we don't have a conference. The atmosphere here, as you well know, is a place kids want to play. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Guys aren't leaving, like you said, because it is a phenomenal place to play. When you're playing baseball at Oregon State, for us and the way we feel about it, you're playing basketball at Kentucky. You are the sport, and that's important. Kids want to play there. Sadly, there's not a lot of places on the West Coast right now that have that type of an environment. And we talked about that. Unbelievable that you could go to a place like USC at the end of my coaching career and have 1,000 Oregon State alumni there and 65 Trojan fans. And that's sad. I think Arizona and Arizona State moving to the city parks was a statement that Arizona for sure couldn't get in. But Arizona State did when Murph was there. They were packing it, but it just tells you what the schools thought about baseball, that they weren't willing to do something to keep playing at Packard Stadium is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no home field advantage. You go play now against Arizona State. It's hard to play in the desert, but it's not like you're going to ASU. And at the end, when Andy had great teams, and you go to Arizona, nobody'd be there. Now, when you
Mm-hmm.
guys played him, it was probably a little different because of the in-state rivalry. And so I think, sadly, on the West Coast, here again, we started with this. I don't think that people are investing in baseball. Oregon State is. Oregon State not only investing in their facilities, they're investing in the players, they're investing in the people, and that's what we are about. And having said that, I don't think it's sustainable over a long period of time to not be in a conference. I think it's better to be in a conference. You're going to have all league teams. You're going to have an automatic qualifier. You're going to have a TV deal where your exposure's really out there. Um, Oregon State can do it for now because, like you said, they have cachet. They can call people and say, "Hey, we want to play." Now, not a lot of people want to come to Oregon State and play. You even when I was here, I'd call some schools. There were some big schools, and they'd say, "Case, we'd love to play. Come on down." But we don't need to go there. We got great weather. We don't have
Right.
to. And I respect that. I get that. But I do think that, it's funny. George said that to me when he was at Fullerton, and the next year he got the job at Oregon. And he did. And I laughed about that. I said, "Hey, George, remember me telling you?" You go, "Yeah, come on down, Case. But why would I go up there? I can play home games." So, I think they've done a really good job this year of getting quality games. I know they're going to some tournaments that are high profile tournaments early. Um, but I do think that something will happen to where they'll be hopefully in a conference. This football thing's going to drive everything. There's
Mhm.
there's there's nobody's hiding that. Uh, if you look at how decisions were made, it certainly doesn't make sense when you and I's minds, when we were coming up, that USC and UCLA would go into the Big Ten to play baseball. We would think that that is just,
Bonkers. Yeah.
bonkers. And so for them not to be able to figure that out from uh, administrative levels just kind of reflects a little bit of where the influence is coming, and it's coming from football. And so, because football drives everything. And we have a problem too because the fact we don't have any clarity on NIL and transfer portal and where it's going to end. And, if you look at things like revenue, there's not a lot of baseball programs at revenue, and there's not a lot of football programs at revenue. There's certain leagues that do. So, do the players share in the revenue only, or do they share in the revenue and the loss? Something has to be figured out. The NC2A needs to get specific guidelines out there so people know where this is headed. That'll help us in baseball, I think, to understand what the possibilities are out there for us. I know how hard our administration is working to try to make it the best situation they can make it. I'll tell you, you hit it on the head. We got three projected first rounders this year at Oregon State. They have a tremendous opportunity to do big things. They did big things last year. Isn't it kind of ironic? We start talking about where this thing started, and now we talk about the disappointment of losing in a super regional.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I told Mitch when he took the job, I said the good thing about high expectations from the fan base, if they didn't care, there would be no expectation. The
Yeah.
bad the bad thing, they think you should win it every year. Augie Garrido told me that when I first got to Omaha the first time. He said, "Case, the Texas fans think the season starts in Omaha." I said, "Man, I never thought about it that way." But so I was blessed to be in it. Still dabbling around in it, messing around with it. I miss kids. I miss the energy of baseball. I don't know how I would have handled some of the things that are happening now. But I do think the game is very, very healthy. I think that the things that are surrounding it right now are detrimental to it, and we got to figure out how to prevent that from happening, because I do think the game is high level coaches, high level players, high level performance. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, agreed. And what you said a second ago, Case, like the game is really like college sports feels unhealthy. Like unhealthy is maybe too dramatic. College sports feels too chaotic right now, but college baseball has never been healthier and growing. And I think Oregon State's a big part of that story. What the Beavs, what your program's accomplished. Every story needs kind of upstarts out of nowhere. And I think of three things. I'll summarize it as we wrap, Case, with this. Like you mentioned Goss Stadium. I grew up in the Philadelphia area with the Philadelphia Palestra, which is like this basketball cathedral. And like it's just like these bleachers, and like Wilt Chamberlain's played there, and like every great Kobe Bryant's played there. And Goss Stadium has that feel to me where, like, I tell people that are going there for the first time, like those fans are almost on the field. Like it is a spooky place to play. And I always get feedback from other announcers that have never been there that are like, man, that was so cool. I think of that. I think of in 2017 when we went up there for the Super Regional, and one of the directors from ESPN, who, like, this dude's done Super Bowls and Monday Night Football, every big event that you can picture, and he's so fired up because you guys are number one in the country, and he's like he's peppering us. He's like, all right, someone explain to me how the number one team in college baseball is located in Corvallis, Oregon. Like, is this Amsterdam? Like, are there casinos? Like, somebody explain to me what's going
But
on here. And you know, it
that
was so yeah, it was
great
incredible.
American spirit, Runes. That's
Yeah.
why things happen that nobody ever dreams could happen. And I'll tell you, the two SEC teams that came here, both their skippers talked to me after the series, and one of them texted me afterwards. And I it wasn't when Butch was up here, when Auburn was up here. He said, "I was told that this is on your bucket list to play. That you need to come here." And you know they're thinking, "Hey, we play places that got 10 and 12,000." He goes,
Mm-hmm.
I said, "No, this is real." And he goes, "I mean that. It is as good an atmosphere as we've played in." And same thing, couple years earlier when one of the clubs came in here and he said, "Guys told me," and I'm thinking, "Come on, man." And he goes, "I'll tell you, Case, it was real. It was unbelievable. It was awesome." He goes, "You feel like the fans are in your dugout." And
So
so,
great.
yeah, it is. And we just finished a $7 million hitting facility out in center field. That's going to be phenomenal.
Nice.
Like that. We want to finish right field and bring it over to the right field deck. I want to do, we have bleachers in right field. We want to make them permanent with some suites. So a lot of good things happening, and love college baseball. Just, the World Series last year was phenomenal. Like you said, I think our game is progressing at a better clip for me than some of the other NC2A sports, which are phenomenal, but have been going on for a long time. But baseball, the television exposure and what they've done with the World Series, and it's really, really special.